Okay, so I clicked the stop filming button too soon, and then I had a little walk around. But really I want to continue in that vein of transpersonal experience. Transpersonal experience is one of those things that a lot of the time can blindside you and you're not expecting it. But sometimes it can come very consciously. And if you're struggling with self-love, or if you're struggling with self-discovery, if you feel trapped inside the ego self, or if you feel not connected to anything, then I think the best thing to do is to actually actively, consciously invite transpersonal experience, because it is such a gift. And when I tune in to the transpersonal, when I elevate myself above and beyond who I am, above and beyond my physicality, above and beyond my name, my nationality, my time and place of living, what society expects for women, what society expects for me, what my parents expect, what I expect from other people, all of that ego stuff. When I transcend beyond that and I really click into the fact that I am a part of all of this and it is a part of me, the seed of self-love finds it very difficult not to find some fertile ground in that. It really is very powerful. When I think about the fact that every single cell in my body is its own architecture, every single part of me individually is a part of the whole, and I, in turn, am a part of all of this, it's difficult to continue with self-loathing. As I was saying, self-loathing takes a hell of a lot of energy. It takes a lot out of you. A lot of people think that they would do anything to get away from self-loathing, but in actuality, when I look back at how much effort it took me to loathe myself and to feel disconnected from the world and to really stand my ground on that and really believe that it was what I thought about things, I shifted all of that energy. I took that and I harnessed it and I turned it into something different, and it's easier to do than one would imagine. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're alive and you're here, then you have the opportunity to take something from that. You have the opportunity to be one with that premise and to really explore and to really get down with what it means to touch the exposed roots of a tree, or what it means to look at raindrops on a branch and think about how they are in turn their own universes, what it means to believe in the maxim as above so below, which has been so powerful for me over the years. When I look at roots coming up, I'm looking at some now coming up out of the soil, and the way they look like the veins that are running through my body, the arteries and the capillaries that are running through my body. When I look at the shape of a seashell and the way it reflects the way stars move in rotation through the galaxy, when I look at any of that and I think about metaphor and I think about what that means for me as a part of this universe, it's really difficult for self-loathing to have its part in that. Because you're being expansive, you're recognizing that you are infinite, that you are really important, that you are part of something just as much as anything else is, and that you have your own cycle of life and death. And that's a really magical thing. We should truly treasure that, I think. So, tune in, connect to the transpersonal. Try and consciously seek it out, and eventually it will become second nature. I think a lot of people don't recognize the true value of actually focusing on shifting your neural pathways consciously. Your beliefs are what you receive out of life. What you think life is going to give is normally what you end up getting. I've found that from my personal experience, from the way that I've grown over time and learned not to loathe myself and not to expect the worst from everybody and not to think that everything is tragedy and everything is pain. I've realised that I've shifted my neural pathways, if you like. I've actually come to expect more, that I am going to be plugged in and that I am going to experience awakening and illumination and all that good stuff. And upon expecting that, I receive it. And, I think it's just as easy as that, really. It takes practice, of course. You have to catch yourself in the act of the negative thought processes that you're having. You have to catch yourself in the act of nesting and protecting your limiting beliefs, because we do it so automatically. We do it on autopilot, and we very rarely actually see ourselves doing it. So I think the first step with self-love, aside from this thing that I've been talking about with transpersonal experience, is actually to catch yourself in the act of negative self-talk. Actually watch yourself going through the motions of telling yourself that you're worthless, you're shit, you're nothing, you deserve, this negative stuff that is coming into your life. You can't expect anything better. You're not entitled to anything better. You can't make anything of your life. You know, these are all parts of negative self-talk that you can actually catch yourself in the act of fostering. And that's where you can actually begin to reverse that by putting in thoughts that are more nurturing and are more wholesome and in fact are more true. A lot of the stuff we tell ourselves is bullshit. A lot of the stuff I told myself for the longest time was bullshit. Oh, car alarm. Typical. So, you know, I really think it's about noticing what you're telling yourself that doesn't need to be part of your structure of thought process, and replacing it with other stuff, more nurturing stuff that actually feeds you. I think that's all I wanted to say for now. I think I might actually read some poetry, possibly, if that car alarm shuts off. Oh, there we go. So, this is a great big book of Walt Whitman's poetry, which cost me £15. It's an antique print. And I went into the bookshop and saw it and just absolutely loved it. But I didn't have the money for it. It was like 15 quid. So I waited until I had the money, and then I went back, and I was really, really happy that it was still there. It's totally beautiful. And even though it's a big chunky book, and I have a herniated disc at the bottom of my spine, I still sometimes carry it around with me because to me it's like a book of scripture. Words are very important to me on my personal journey, and I think that words can unleash something within you that you might find it difficult to put into words yourself, or that you might not have been able to put your finger on, psychically speaking. You might not have been able to recognise what the specific combination of feelings and emotional responses were until you actually get your eyes and ears on the right poem. And, you know, this book is just absolutely full of beautiful poetry. Listen to this. This is called Grand is the Scene. Grand is the scene, the light to me. Grand are the sky and stars. Grand is the earth, and grand are lasting time and space, and grand their laws, so multiform, puzzling, evolutionary. But grander far the unseen soul of me, comprehending, endowing all those, lightning, the sky, the stars, the earth, sailing the sea. What were all those indeed without thee, unseen soul? Of what amount with thee? More evolutionary, vast puzzling, O my soul, more multiform far, more lasting thou than they. So really what he's saying there is, what would all of this stuff, which is turning me on and plugging me in and making me feel so righteous, what would all of this stuff be without me, myself, and without my soul? You know, I am multiform and evolutionary and vast and puzzling, O my soul. And this is really pantheistic stuff. You know, if you're a pantheist, you might want to check out Whitman if you haven't already, because a lot of his stuff has that epic pantheistic flavour that I really, really tune into. This one is called Think of the Soul. Think of the soul. I swear to you that body of yours gives proportions to your soul somehow to live in other spheres. I do not know how, but I know it is so. Think of loving and being loved. I swear to you, whoever you are, you can interfuse yourself with such things that everybody that sees you shall look longingly upon you. Think of the past. I warn you that in a little while others will find their past in you and your times. The race is never separated, nor man nor woman escapes. All is inextricable. Things, spirits, nature, nations, you too, from precedents you come. Recall the ever-welcome defiers, the mothers precede them. Recall the sages, poets, saviours, inventors, lawgivers of the earth. Recall Christ, brother of rejected persons, brother of slaves, felons, idiots, and of insane and diseased persons. Think of the time when you were not yet born. Think of times you stood at the side of the dying. Think of the time when your own body will be dying. Think of spiritual results. Sure as the earth swims through the heavens, does every one of its objects pass into spiritual results. Think of manhood, and you to be a man. Do you count manhood and the sweet of manhood nothing? Think of womanhood, and you to be a woman. The creation is womanhood. Have I not said that womanhood involves all? Have I not told how the universe has nothing better than the best womanhood? I like that part where he says, think of the time when your own body will be dying, and think of the times when you stood at the side of the dying. This was something else that I wanted to say. Those who have actually experienced the death of loved ones and held the hands of their loved ones through death and actually experienced the incredible pain, the ego loss of watching somebody pass on from their physicality, those people are very valuable to those of us who haven't yet been through that, because everybody's going to die. It is going to happen. Their time will come. And when their time comes, they need to be fully aware of the impact that it's going to have on those that are left behind. And that will help them to heal those that are left behind, and for those that are left behind to get a sense of the fact that they can survive the death of a loved one, that they can release and they can receive and they can move on, and they can know that all things are life and death and life. It's a cycle. And it's completely possible to connect with those who have bypassed their physicality. And as I said as I think I said in the other video, but I might have switched it off before I actually said it, it doesn't take a medium to help you do this. It doesn't take anybody connecting with the personal spirit of the one who's passed on and saying things like, oh, they hope you're okay and they're okay on the other side. All it takes is for you to touch exposed tree roots, go outside and drink the rain. We are all part of the same source. The air that runs through the hollow bone of a bird is the same air that runs through you and me. And, therefore there is really no such thing as death. There's only death on an ego level. So when I connect with people who've passed on, when I connect with people who've left my life, I connect through doing that. And I think that is something that people often miss. When we're trying to connect with those who've bypassed their physicality, often we try and connect with them on an ego level, so through going to see a medium and trying to have an actual conversation with the ego of the person that's passed on, as though they're still exactly as they were in the physical realm and nothing has changed. And I think that we try and do that, and we try and push for that experience because we really don't understand anything else. We haven't really been taught a way to click in and connect with those who've died, with those who've passed on, with the spirit that runs through everything. So we try and do it in a logical way, as though it's like picking up the phone and saying, hey, how are you? Oh yeah, I'm fine. And those kind of conversations, whether or not they're actually real in some sense, whether or not consciousness has actually brought them into being to make pain less painful, death less painful for us, I'm not sure. But what I do know is that there's a way easier way to connect with those who've moved on, with those who've passed on, and that is to understand that as above, so below, as within, so without. Breathe that maxim, absolutely live it. Go outside and really roll around in the grass, dance ecstatically. Understand that every breath you take, every inhale and exhale is part of the same stuff that created the life of the person you love and created the death that took them from you in some sense. And that's where it really is. And I know it might sound abstract, it might sound a lot more difficult to get on board with than a medium saying, oh, hey, they say they're okay on the other side. And if that works for you, then I guess that's what works for you. But I feel there's something missing in it. I feel that it's almost like trying to make death more comprehensible, or trying to make death seem in some way like it hasn't really happened. It has really happened, and it's not necessarily something that wasn't part of the plan. It's not other to the plan. It is part of the plan. I am one day going to be fertilising daffodils. I will be food for worms. And the more that I think that through in my daily life, and the more that I actually connect to that premise, the better I actually feel. So I do try and help people that have fear of death, because I think it's one of those things that it must be so difficult to fear because it is completely inevitable. So you've got to find a different way of seeing it, you really have to. It's part of the spiritual evolution for me, is to feel more comfortable with the premise of death every day, and to understand that it gives me so much, and to respect it for that reason. I'm a talker. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I am a talker. So I'm going to leave it here for now. And, I love you all very much, and I feel that you're part of me and I'm part of you. And that oneness, in a sense, which is the driver behind everything, which is the seed behind everything, it's helping me to flourish more every day. A lot of Buddhist monks in the old days, they used to put a human skull in their meditation space or on their desks to remind themselves constantly of the presence of temporal reality, to remind themselves constantly of, I suppose, what they would call the web of illusion. I don't really favour that term, but I favour the notion that we should always hang on to the fact that it could be the last moment, and to really grasp it and really drink it, and really respect the fact that the energy that runs through us could one day, be the energy that runs through this thing here. That to me is my personal preferred notion of reincarnation, in a sense. And it fills me with the majesty and the wonder of what's going on for me in my very human experience, and I'm privileged for that, and I feel more privileged for it every day. I feel absolutely blessed, and I hope that you guys do too. Much love.